So walking out into the Tokyo Stadium, there was music blasting. It was just like pumping me up and I was getting excited and I was bouncing around in my running blade. I just really tell myself, like, you got this. Like, it's something you do every single day. Nothing's new here. I use my hands, my palms on the ground. I will then step back into the blocks using my left foot first, and then I will adjust my blade on the right side. Then they will say, on your mark. When the starter says set, you raise your hips up. Then the gun will go off and you explode out of the blocks.
Make every second count. We've all heard that expression, but for sprinters like Marissa Papaconstantinou, a second is too much time. For Marissa, success and failure is measured by 1/100th of a second, a fact she and her coach, Bob Westman, are very aware of.
Good job, girls. How we clear the blocks is a place that we're gonna get a little bit better on. How we sprint at max velocity. If we can just creep up that max velocity a little bit longer. 4, 5, 6, 7. There are not huge gains that can be had in any one place. So the goal was to look at probably 5 or 6 different elements and make small gains in each of them.
So I watched your race from Tokyo.
Thank you.
So how important is a good start? Because I come from a hockey background. I'm a hockey player. So for us, if we get scored on in the first minute, we're down 1-0. I still have 44 more minutes of that game to make it up. I can really make up a bad start. You can't. And so just walk us through maybe the intensity of fractions of a second. What's it like to know that that's what's going to determine it?
I think it's, first of all, there's like a lot of fuel in that because again, it's like those attention to detail every single day. It's not settling for, you know, that was a good run, that was okay. It's like, how do you get from being good to great?
Whether on the track or at the gym, Marissa is determined to make those small gains a reality.
All I can do is focus on like setting personal best, and I think that's what I aim to do in like a lot of my competitions. You're obviously not going to set a personal best every single race, but having that mentality of running your personal best every time so that you know you're putting your best effort and foot forward into every single performance that you do.
That drive and motivation to make every second count eventually paid off at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, where she placed 3rd in the women's 100 meter.
Look at the joy in her face. Papaconstantinou of Canada. I don't think she can believe it. She's won a bronze medal at the Paralympics.
I knew that it was so doable to be on the podium, but I just was not like trying not to think about that too much. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised at the same time because I knew, like I actually believed I could do it.
She was in a mindset of like, I'm just gonna do my best and whatever happens, happens. So we knew anything was possible on the day.
Knowing that you achieved that milestone was just such a like overwhelming feeling and excitement, and I was just like so proud of not only myself, but like everyone that's helped me get to that point.
It means that the time her family puts in, the time that she puts in, everything just kind of comes together in a way.
As Coach Bob mentioned, her family, particularly her parents, Kathy and Bill, played a huge part in getting her on that podium.
It was pretty emotional. We were laughing, crying.
She just comes in calm, and you can tell by the way she's jumping around, and she knew what she can accomplish, and she was determined to do it.
Bronze medalist representing Canada, Marissa Papaconstantinou.
I only owe it to them to just keep performing to the best of my ability and to keep working as hard as I can to kind of like achieve those goals I set up for. But I know like I can never disappoint them at the end of the day. It's just in my heart, I want to always be the best version of myself for them.
Even at a young age, Marissa, who was born without her right foot, had a natural inclination to move fast.
Marissa was very energetic as a child, constantly running. There was that whole stress, what will she be like? What is she gonna do? And we were stressed until she stood up. We used to have this, it was like an island, kind of a bar area, and all Marissa would do is run circles around the bar. So she was already running track by the time she was 1.
As athletes themselves, her parents decided to feed her athletic prowess as early as possible.
We both played sports constantly, and that was it's our lifestyle. It was important for us to get her involved as well.
We exposed her, pretty quickly to soccer. Basketball came shortly thereafter. You know what? She wants to try all this stuff. We're gonna let her try. And she was asking for it.
That love for sport her parents fostered eventually led Marissa to sprinting.
Track really just took over when I learned that there were so many more opportunities to be at such a higher level. How fast someone could move from point A to point B was really fascinating as well.
Marissa then received her first running blade and was one step closer to her goal.
So having something to like actually run with that was meant for physical activity, it felt like I had 2 feet for the first time. Like I was just like, whoa, my world opened up to this like new level of mobility that I never experienced before.
In time, she discovered there were opportunities for her to represent Canada at the Paralympic Games.
I did this campaign called It's More Than Sport with the Canadian Paralympic Committee. And that was when, I started to learn about the fact that there were other classifications and disabilities and events and sports that partake in the Paralympic Games. And it was just really cool to see like this whole community and world that like I suddenly automatically just like fit into.
We would have people come up to us and go, get ready to travel.
And travel they did, as 16-year-old Marissa had the opportunity to represent Canada at the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Paralympic Flame.
At the end of the day, you train so much for really just like a very, very short period of time in your life. And there are limited opportunities to be able to prove to yourself and show the world what you can do.
So we tried to stay back and let her, experience it, but we were definitely watching every move.
Rio was one step in her athletic career, and as with any step, there is always a chance of slipping. In the 2017 World Para-Athletics 200-meter sprint final, Marissa suffered a tear in her hamstring while racing.
Man, like I look back and I feel like I know and I have a sense of why I finished that race. And it was just like, well, it was pretty simple to what I was thinking in that moment of just like, I had not finished a race. I owed it to myself after like all the build up until that race to finish it.
Even though she crossed the finish line, that injury would still linger long after the race was over. She needed to heal, and that's when she found Coach Bob.
With any injury, first thing you got to learn is how the athlete kind of recovers and handles those things, both physically and emotionally.
I've learned that I'm a lot stronger of a person than I thought I was. When you're living in these moments of like self-doubt, physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, you really start to question, what you're capable of in those moments.
Our goal was, okay, so while this is going on, what are the other elements that we can work on? Maybe we can't be sprinting full out at this moment, but we can still be getting incrementally stronger in the weight room. We can work on the causes of this injury.
Marissa was Coach Bob's first experience in training someone with a leg prosthesis and needed to adapt to her needs.
Let's get up on our feet, walk back.
As an athlete with a disability, a Paralympic runner, what were some stuff you felt like you had to teach him so that he could be the best coach for you?
One of the biggest things is like an amputee, and I'm sure you would know this, is that you burn significantly more energy than the average able-bodied individual would. And so I think it's just kind of been navigating, what is like a good amount of load for Marissa.
Here's the reality, she's a single leg, below knee amputee. So at almost all times, we're gonna be asymmetrical and our body's gonna have different forces, different shearing forces going on.
There's always something I'm learning about my body. And I do realize throughout this process that like I do put it through a lot, but I also try my very best to like take care of it as best I can. It's hard. We always have a plan and make sure that we're like being proactive with things, but also like if something is bothering me, like very reactive as well.
Let's go, girls.
Marissa also trains with able-bodied sprinters on an integrated track team, something she views as a benefit.
Everyone just wants to do their absolute best to be the best version of themselves. It's the approach that you bring to the table, and that's what they can get out of each other in particular.
I honestly don't see like my training environment being any other way. Those girls push me day in and day out to be like the best version of myself. I've always been used to chasing people down, and it's only helped make me faster. It feels good when I kind of have started to close that gap on them, and like it just means that I'm improving, and them being able to push me is like a great training environment to be in.
Currently, Marissa is an ambassador for Holland Bloorview. She's also a public speaker. who regularly visits schools to share her experiences with the young students.
I was going to, regardless, live in the moment, be present, and focus on the things that I can control. Someone that has never seen a running blade before or whatever is now like aware of people like myself, and that there is a whole other world out there of parasport. They now maybe think that they can do something that they never thought they were able to do before.
She became the first female Canadian athlete sponsored by Nike and shares her love for track on social media to hopefully inspire the next generation of para-athletes.
I know her passion and her mandate is how do we create a platform that is really mainstream.
I definitely can see myself kind of wearing a lot of different hats. I would love to do, Olympic, Paralympic coverage. I see myself doing summer and winter sport. I think that it would be so cool to kind of get like more of the winter sport experience in the future, because I have lived my life as like a summer sport athlete.
We hear rumblings of maybe another sport or whatever, so anyway, I hope she does what makes her happy, as she has been now, and continues that route.
She's already well on her way of kind of having a career outside of sport, whether it's in journalism or public speaking or any different elements. So I hope she just has a long, happy, healthy career, and track goes on for as long as she wants it to.
Now that Tokyo is firmly in the rearview, she trains to take home gold in Paris 2024.
I have brought an expectation of myself to the table of like, I deserve to be on the podium. And I think where before it was like this impeding feeling of like, oh, like, am I gonna make it? And I think now it's just like, I know I can be there.
She also reflects on how far track and parasport have taken her.
I think about where I started in parasport and how much it's changed in the last even few years, and the opportunities that have existed. A para-athlete is now in this world and has this opportunity to be their own brand like any other athlete would, and to have sponsorship and to make money and to make sport like a living. And so I think that that's super cool, and I love that now I have the opportunity to again like inspire that next generation to increase participation from especially the grassroots level. I think that that's a huge thing moving forward, and parasport in Canada, and I think track and field specifically, is just getting more people involved and showing them the opportunities that exist in the parasport world.